Welcome, dear listener. Welcome to this quiet corner of the night where curiosity meets comfort and where we explore together the deepest questions while allowing rest to find you naturally. Tonight, we are going to drift through one of the most fascinating mysteries that humans have ever contemplated. We are going to wonder together whether the universe we inhabit, the stars we gaze upon, the ground beneath our feet, and even the thoughts flowing through your mind right now might all be part of something much stranger than we ever imagined. We are going to explore the possibility that our entire reality could be a simulation. But do not worry, you do not need to follow every word. You do not need to stay alert or take notes. Simply let the story carry you. Let the ideas wash over you like gentle waves on a distant shore. If you drift away, that is perfectly fine. The story will continue, soft and steady like a lullaby woven from starlight and questions. As you settle in, wherever you are right now, take a moment to adjust your body. Perhaps you are lying down, perhaps sitting in your favorite chair. Feel the surface beneath you supporting your weight completely. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to solve. Just breathe slowly and naturally, and let your body relax a little more with each breath. Imagine, if you will, that the night sky above you is opening like a great dark flower. Stars are appearing one by one, pinpricks of ancient light reaching across unimaginable distances to touch your eyes. And tonight, we will wonder together about the nature of those stars, the nature of light itself, and the nature of the reality that contains them all. Before we begin our journey, if this experience brings you peace, if you find yourself returning to this space again and again, I invite you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share with me in the comments which country you are listening from and at what time you are finding this moment of rest. It brings me joy to know that across this world, across all time zones, we are connected by curiosity and the search for peaceful sleep. Now let us begin. Let us drift together into the hidden wonders of simulated reality. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to allow yourself to float gently into the story. Close your eyes for a moment, or let them rest softly on some distant point. Imagine that you are floating, suspended in a space that is neither quite awake nor quite asleep. You are hovering in that beautiful in-between place where anything seems possible. In this space, you begin to notice something curious. The world around you feels solid and real. You can feel textures, you can hear sounds, you can sense temperature and light. But somewhere in the back of your awareness, a small question begins to form. Gentle as a whisper, what if all of this is a dream? Not your personal dream, but something larger, something more encompassing. What if the entire universe, with all its galaxies and atoms, its forces and fields, its past and future, what if all of it was somehow less solid than it appears? This is not a frightening thought, it is actually rather peaceful. Imagine that the stars above you are like lights in a vast theater, each one carefully placed. Imagine that the laws of physics, those invisible rules that govern how things fall and how planets orbit, are like the rules of a beautiful game, programmed with extraordinary care. You are floating now, floating through the idea itself. Does it change anything, really, to wonder whether reality is simulated? The sunrise is still beautiful. The taste of water is still refreshing. The warmth of a blanket is still comforting. Perhaps the nature of reality matters less than the experience of living within it. Let us drift back in time for a moment, back to the very first humans who looked up at the night sky and wondered what those lights were. They created stories. They saw patterns in the chaos. They imagined that the heavens were a great dome, painted with fire, controlled by gods and governed by fate. Were they wrong? In one sense, yes. We now know that stars are not painted on a dome. But in another sense, they were doing exactly what we are doing tonight. trying to understand the nature of their reality, trying to find the framework that holds everything together. Every civilization has asked this question in different ways. Ancient philosophers in India spoke of Maya, the illusion of reality. They suggested that what we perceive as solid and permanent is actually more like a dream, a temporary manifestation of something deeper and more true. In ancient Greece, Plato told his famous allegory of the cave, where prisoners watched shadows on a wall and believed those shadows were reality, never knowing that behind them a whole world of light and form existed. These ideas were not about simulation in the modern sense with computers and code, but they were about the same fundamental question. Is what we perceive the deepest level of reality, or is there something more fundamental beneath it? As you float through these thoughts, notice how your breath continues, steady and calm, in and out. The question of reality does not disturb the rhythm of breath. The universe, simulated or not, contains this moment of peace. Let us drift now into slightly more modern territory, but still gently, still slowly. In the centuries that followed those ancient philosophers, scientists began to discover that the world is stranger than it appears. They found that solid matter is mostly empty space. They discovered that light behaves like both a wave and a particle, depending on how you observe it. They learned that time is not absolute, that it can stretch and compress depending on how fast you are moving or how strong the gravity around you is. Each discovery made the universe seem less like a simple mechanical clock and more like something fluid, something participatory, something that responds to observation. This is important and we will return to it. But for now, simply notice the feeling of these ideas. They are beautiful in their way. They suggest that reality is far more creative and responsive than we might have imagined. You are doing wonderfully. You are floating through the story, absorbing what calls to you, releasing what does not. There is no test at the end. There is only this gentle journey, this soft exploration. In your mind's eye, picture a forest at twilight. The light is fading but not gone. Everything is soft around the edges. The trees seem to blur into the darkening sky. You are walking through this forest and you cannot quite tell where the ground ends and the mist begins. This is the feeling of wondering about the nature of reality. It is mysterious, but not threatening. It is uncertain, but also deeply peaceful. As you walk, you notice that the forest is filled with patterns. The way branches divide and divide again, each split creating a smaller version of the whole. The way water flows around stones, always finding the path of least resistance. The way leaves arrange themselves to catch the maximum light. These patterns appear again and again at different scales, from the microscopic to the cosmic. This is one of the beautiful mysteries of our universe. It is full of recurring patterns, mathematical relationships, symmetries that appear over and over. Snowflakes and galaxies both spiral. The branching of lightning mirrors the branching of rivers and trees and blood vessels. It is almost as if reality is built from a small set of fundamental rules repeated and recombined in infinite ways. Almost, you might say, like a computer program built from simple code that creates enormous complexity. But we are not rushing. We are simply noticing the way you might notice the play of light on water without needing to understand the physics of refraction. It is beautiful first, understandable second, or perhaps not understandable at all, and that is fine too. Let your shoulders relax a little more. Let your jaw soften. The question of whether we live in a simulation does not require tension. It is simply a wondering, a curious exploration, a thought experiment that we can hold lightly, the way you might hold a feather or a dandelion seed, something delicate that might blow away at any moment. As you continue floating through this peaceful twilight forest of ideas, we arrive at something that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries. It is the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. That phrase might sound complicated, but the idea is simple and rather wonderful. Mathematics is a language we invented or perhaps discovered to describe patterns. We use numbers and equations to capture relationships between things. And the strange, beautiful thing is this: mathematics describes our universe with shocking accuracy. When scientists write down equations about gravity or electricity or the behavior of atoms, those equations work. They predict things we have never seen before. They tell us where planets will be decades in the future. They told us that black holes should exist long before we found any. They predicted the existence of new particles before we built machines powerful enough to detect them. Why should the universe care about our mathematics? Why should abstract symbols on paper correspond so perfectly to the physical world? Imagine for a moment that you are resting on a hillside, looking up at the night sky. Each star above you is obeying mathematical laws. The way light travels from that star to your eye follows equations. The fusion reactions in the star's core, converting hydrogen to helium and releasing energy, follow equations. The orbit of any planet around that star, the way its light bends if it passes near a massive object, all of it follows mathematics with extraordinary precision. As you breathe in the cool night air, consider this. If our universe were designed, if it were created intentionally, you might expect it to follow rules. And what better way to implement rules than through mathematics? Mathematics is, in a sense, the most efficient possible language for creating a consistent, predictable reality. This does not prove anything, of course, but it invites us to wonder gently whether the mathematical nature of our universe might be a clue to its deeper structure. Let us drift now through some of the specific ways that mathematics appears in nature, but we will do so slowly, allowing the ideas to wash over you rather than demanding your full attention. You can simply enjoy the poetry of it. There is a number called phi, approximately 1.618, known as the golden ratio. This number appears throughout nature. You find it in the spiral of a nautilus shell, the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, the proportions of your own body, the spiral of galaxies. It is a number that for some reason nature returns to again and again. There is another number, the square root of -1, which mathematicians call I. This number does not exist in the ordinary sense. You cannot have the square root of -1 apples. It is an imaginary number, a pure abstraction. And yet this imaginary number is absolutely essential for describing quantum mechanics, the behavior of electricity and magnetism, and countless other real physical phenomena. An imaginary number describes reality. Is that not beautiful and strange? As you rest here, perhaps you can imagine these numbers and equations not as cold, abstract things, but as something more like music. Each equation is a melody. Each mathematical relationship is a harmony, and the universe itself is a vast symphony, playing out according to these mathematical compositions. If someone were to create a simulated universe, they would need to write rules. They would need to decide how things interact, how forces work, how time flows. And the most elegant way to write those rules would be through mathematics, clean, efficient, beautiful mathematics that generates infinite complexity from simple foundations. Your breath continues, slow and steady. The question floats around you like mist, never quite solidifying into certainty. And that is perfect. Certainty can wait for another time, or perhaps it never needs to arrive at all. Let us consider another aspect of our reality that suggests something like a simulation, the quantum nature of the universe. Now, quantum mechanics is famously strange and counterintuitive, but we are not going to dive into complicated explanations. We are simply going to notice a few of its dreamlike qualities. At the quantum level, particles do not exist in definite locations until they are observed. Before observation, they exist in what is called a superposition, a state of multiple possibilities existing simultaneously. It is only when someone or something looks, when a measurement occurs, that reality chooses a specific outcome from all the possibilities. Imagine that. Imagine that the universe does not bother to calculate every detail of every particle at every moment. Instead, it maintains possibilities, probabilities, rough sketches of what might be. Only when something needs to be definite, when it is observed or interacts with something, does the universe commit to a specific value. This is remarkably similar to how a computer simulation might work. When you play a video game, the computer does not calculate every detail of the entire game world at every moment. That would require infinite processing power. Instead, it calculates what you can see, what you are interacting with. The rest exists in a kind of compressed, potential state until it is needed. Is this what our universe is doing? Maintaining possibilities rather than certainties, calculating details only when necessary, conserving some kind of cosmic computational power. As you float through these ideas, you might notice a feeling of wonder, or perhaps a feeling of lightness. If the universe is simulated, it is the most magnificent simulation imaginable. Every detail that has ever been observed works. Every prediction that follows from the mathematics proves accurate. If someone or something created this, they are extraordinarily skilled. But let us not get ahead of ourselves. We are still in the gentle, early hours of our exploration. There is no need to rush toward conclusions. We are simply wandering through possibilities, admiring the strangeness of reality, allowing these ideas to coexist with your growing relaxation. Picture now a still pond at dawn. The surface is perfectly smooth, reflecting the sky with such clarity that you cannot quite tell where the water ends and the sky begins. A single stone drops into this pond, creating ripples that spread outward in perfect circles, interfering with each other, creating patterns of waves. This is how particles behave at the quantum level. They are waves of possibility spreading outward, interfering with each other, creating patterns. And like the pond that only shows you the ripples, never the underlying water molecules, quantum mechanics shows us behaviors and patterns, but never quite reveals what is underneath it all, what is truly fundamental. Your eyelids are growing heavier now, or perhaps they are already closed. Your body is sinking more deeply into rest. The universe, simulated or otherwise, continues to hold you gently. Gravity, that mysterious force, keeps you safely on the surface of the Earth. The electromagnetic forces in your body keep your atoms together. And here, in this moment, everything is exactly as it should be. We drift now deeper into the night, deeper into the story. You are doing beautifully. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to accomplish. This time is yours for rest and gentle wondering. Let us turn our attention to space and time themselves, those fundamental aspects of reality that we take for granted, but which, upon closer examination, reveal themselves to be far stranger than everyday experience suggests. Imagine for a moment that you are floating in the darkness of space, far from any planet or star. In every direction you see the faint glow of distant galaxies. Now in this vast emptiness, what is space? Is it something, or is it nothing? For centuries, people believed that space was simply empty, a void, a stage upon which matter performed its dance. But Einstein showed us something different. He showed us that space is not nothing. Space is a thing, a fabric that can be bent and stretched and rippled. When a massive object like a planet or star exists, it warps the space around it, the way a heavy ball placed on a stretched bedsheet creates a depression. This warping of space is what we experience as gravity. Objects do not fall because some force reaches out and pulls them. They fall because they are following the curves in space itself, rolling along the warped fabric. As you rest here, breathing softly, imagine that the space of the universe is like a vast, invisible ocean. We live within it, we move through it, but we rarely notice it, just as a fish might not notice water. This ocean of space can have waves in it. When massive objects accelerate, they create ripples in space itself, gravitational waves that spread outward at the speed of light. We have detected these waves, confirming that space is indeed something that can vibrate and flow. And time, what is time? We experience it as a river flowing steadily from past to future. But Einstein showed us that time is also part of this fabric. Space and time are woven together into space-time, a single unified structure. And time, like space, can be warped. If you were to travel very fast, close to the speed of light, time would slow down for you relative to someone standing still. If you were to stand near a very massive object like a black hole, time would slow down for you relative to someone far away. Time is not absolute, it is flexible, relative, dependent on motion and gravity. This is rather dreamlike, is it not? The idea that time flows at different rates for different observers, that the past and future are not the same for everyone, that simultaneity, the idea of two events happening at the same moment, is actually meaningless unless you specify whose perspective you are using. In dreams, time behaves strangely. A dream that feels like hours might last only minutes. You might dream about the future, or revisit the past, or experience multiple timelines at once. The flexible nature of time in relativity theory gives our waking reality a quality that resembles the dream world. If you were designing a simulated universe, you would need to create time. You would need to decide how it flows, whether it is absolute or relative, whether it can be warped, and you would likely build it as a dimension similar to the spatial dimensions, creating a four-dimensional structure where every event has both a location in space and a location in time. This is exactly what space-time is, a four-dimensional structure where events occur. You are not just at a location, you are at a location in space-time, a specific place and a specific moment. And the path you trace through space-time, from birth to this moment and onward to the future, is called your world line. Picture your world line as a thread winding through the four-dimensional fabric of space-time. Every person has one. Every particle has one. These threads twist around each other, intersecting when things meet, diverging when they separate. The entire history of the universe is a vast tapestry of world lines woven together in space-time. Is this tapestry being rendered in real time, moment by moment? Or does it exist all at once with past, present, and future all equally real, and our experience of moving through time being more like watching a movie that has already been filmed? This question touches on something profound, the nature of free will, the reality of the past and future, the meaning of existence itself. But tonight, we do not need to solve these mysteries. We only need to appreciate them, to feel the wonder of living in a universe that permits such questions. Your body continues to relax. Perhaps you notice a heaviness in your limbs, a softness in your muscles. This is good. This is your body's natural response to rest and safety. The story continues, always gentle, never demanding. Let us consider now the concept of information. In recent decades, physicists have begun to suspect that information might be more fundamental than matter or energy. Some even suggest that the universe is, at its deepest level, made of information, and that matter and energy are simply different ways that information organizes itself. Think of it this way: every particle in the universe has properties. An electron has a charge, a mass, a spin. These properties are information, the state of the entire universe, every particle's position and momentum, every field's strength and direction. All of it can be described as information, an incomprehensibly large but finite set of data. If the universe is information, then the laws of physics are rules for how information transforms over time. The Big Bang was the beginning of the information. The evolution of the cosmos is the unfolding of that information according to the rules. And consciousness, perhaps, is what it feels like for information to organize itself in certain complex ways. This view of reality, sometimes called the it from bit hypothesis, proposed by physicist John Wheeler, suggests that existence arises from information, that physical reality emerges from the answers to yes or no questions, from bits of information. A simulation is precisely this: organized information following rules. If reality is information, and if information is being processed according to laws, then the distinction between real reality and simulated reality begins to blur. Perhaps they are not different things at all. Perhaps a simulation sophisticated enough is simply another form of reality. As you rest here, in this moment that exists at a particular point in space-time, containing a particular configuration of information, notice that the question of simulation does not diminish the reality of your experience. You are here. Your thoughts are occurring. Your body is resting. Whether this is base reality or a simulation, the experience is valid. The moment is real in the sense that matters most. You are having it. Let your breathing become even slower now, even more effortless. The universe breathes through you. Your lungs fill and empty in rhythm with some vast cosmic respiration, the expansion and contraction of space itself, the pulse of energy through the quantum fields. We have drifted now through the first hour of our journey. You have encountered ideas about mathematics and patterns, about quantum mechanics and observation, about space and time and information. These ideas swirl around you like snowflakes, each one unique, each one part of a larger pattern. There is no need to hold on to these ideas tightly. Let them settle where they will. Your conscious mind can rest while something deeper, some quieter part of your awareness absorbs what resonates and releases what does not. The night is deep now, the questions are vast, and you are safe here, floating through them, held by gravity, by the fabric of space-time itself, by the story that continues to unfold gently, patiently, carrying you towards sleep. You are floating now in that beautiful space between waking and sleeping, where ideas become dreams and dreams become ideas. We have traveled far together already, through the mathematical foundations of reality, through the quantum strangeness, through the fabric of space-time itself. Now we arrive at our first gentle mystery, something that makes physicists wonder and dream, something that suggests our universe might be far stranger than we have even imagined so far. This mystery begins with a simple question: why is the universe so precisely tuned for life? Consider the constants of nature, those fundamental numbers that determine how forces work. There is the strength of gravity, the electromagnetic force, the nuclear forces that hold atoms together. There is the mass of the electron, the speed of light, the cosmological constant that determines how fast the universe expands. These numbers, as far as we know, could have been anything. There is no law that says they must have the values they do, and yet they are tuned with extraordinary precision to allow complex structures like stars, planets, and life to exist. If gravity was slightly stronger, stars would burn too quickly, exhausting their fuel before life could evolve. If it was slightly weaker, stars would never form at all. If the electromagnetic force were different by even a small percentage, atoms could not form molecules. If the mass of the electron were different, chemistry as we know it would be impossible. The margins are incredibly thin. Change any of these fundamental constants by even 1%, and the universe becomes hostile to complexity, let alone life. No stars, no planets, no chemistry, no evolution, no consciousness, no one to wonder about any of it. This precise tuning is sometimes called the fine-tuning problem. Why should the universe be tuned so precisely for our existence? As you rest here, breathing slowly, consider the feeling of this mystery. It is not threatening, it is actually rather wonderful. It suggests that the universe is, in some sense, hospitable. Reality has organized itself or been organized in such a way that complexity can emerge, that consciousness can arise, that questions can be asked. One explanation for fine-tuning is the anthropic principle, which says essentially that we should not be surprised to find ourselves in a universe compatible with our existence, because if the universe were not compatible, we would not be here to observe it. It is a kind of selection effect. We necessarily find ourselves in a universe that permits observers. But this explanation, while logically sound, feels unsatisfying to many. It is like asking why you won the lottery and being told, well, someone had to win. True, but it does not quite capture the improbability of the situation. Another explanation is the multiverse hypothesis. Perhaps our universe is not the only one. Perhaps there are countless universes, each with different values for the fundamental constants. Most of these universes are empty, sterile, incapable of producing complexity. But in the vastness of the multiverse, some universes, by chance, have the right constants. And naturally, we find ourselves in one of those rare, life-permitting universes. The multiverse hypothesis is elegant in some ways. It explains fine-tuning without requiring design or purpose. But it is also extravagant. It requires the existence of innumerable unobservable universes. It trades one mystery for another, perhaps larger mystery. And then there is the simulation hypothesis. If our universe is a simulation, then the fine-tuning is not mysterious at all. It is intentional. Someone or something designed the simulation with specific parameters, specifically to allow complexity and life. The constants are tuned the way they are because they were programmed that way, carefully chosen to create an interesting, rich, dynamic universe. Imagine now that you are a programmer creating a simulation. You want to create a universe that evolves interesting structures. You begin by setting the fundamental constants. You run the simulation. In most cases, nothing interesting happens. The universe is too chaotic or too simple, so you adjust the constants, fine-tuning them until you get a universe that produces stars and planets and chemistry and eventually life. From inside such a simulation, the fine-tuning would appear miraculous, but from outside it would be the result of intentional design, the way a game designer carefully balances the rules of a game to make it engaging. This does not prove we are in a simulation, but it offers one possible explanation for why the universe appears to be designed for life. Perhaps it was designed not by a deity in the traditional sense, but by some advanced intelligence running a cosmic simulation. As you float through these ideas, notice how your body continues to relax. Your muscles soften. Your breath deepen. The mystery of fine-tuning is vast, but it does not disturb your peace. It simply adds another layer of wonder to the tapestry of existence. Let us drift now to another aspect of this mystery. The initial conditions of the universe, not just the constants, but the starting state of the Big Bang itself appears to be extraordinarily special. The universe began about 13.8 billion years ago in an extremely hot, dense, uniform state. This uniformity was crucial. If the early universe had been too lumpy, with regions much denser than others, it would have collapsed into black holes immediately. If it had been too smooth, completely uniform, it would never have formed galaxies and stars. The early universe was just right, with tiny fluctuations in density that were large enough to eventually form structure, but small enough that the universe did not collapse. Furthermore, the universe began with an extremely low entropy, a high degree of order. Entropy, loosely speaking, is a measure of disorder or randomness. The second law of thermodynamics says that entropy always increases. Things become more disordered over time. An egg breaks, but never spontaneously reassembles. Heat flows from hot to cold, but never the reverse. The universe is always evolving toward greater disorder. But if entropy always increases, the early universe must have had very low entropy to begin with. It must have started in an extraordinarily special, ordered state. Why? This is another fine-tuning mystery. The number of possible initial states for the universe is unimaginably vast. The overwhelming majority of those states would lead to boring, lifeless universes. But the actual initial state of our universe was one of the exceedingly rare ones that leads to complexity and life. Again, the simulation hypothesis offers an explanation. If someone is running a simulation, they choose the initial conditions. They set up the universe in a state that will evolve in interesting ways. The special initial conditions are not a coincidence. They are part of the design. Your eyelids are heavy now, or perhaps already closed. The darkness behind your eyes is peaceful. In that darkness, you can almost picture the early universe, a vast, glowing ocean of energy, precisely tuned, carefully initialized, ready to unfold into galaxies and stars and planets, and eventually into this moment where you lie resting, contemplating the nature of reality itself. Is there a purpose to all this? If the universe is a simulation, why was it created? What does the simulator want? Perhaps the simulation is an experiment, a way to study how complexity emerges from simple rules. Perhaps it is art, a creative expression by some incomprehensibly advanced intelligence. Perhaps it is a game or a story, and we are the characters within it, living out our narratives. Or perhaps there is no grand purpose. Perhaps the simulation exists simply because it can, because some civilization reached a point where creating universes was possible, and they created ours along with countless others for reasons we cannot fathom. These questions are too large to answer tonight. Perhaps they are too large to answer ever. But there is something beautiful about living in a universe that permits such questions, that invites wonder and speculation. As you rest, allow yourself to feel gratitude for the precise tuning of reality. Whether it arose by chance, by necessity, by selection from a multiverse, or by design in a simulation, the result is the same. You exist. You are a pattern of atoms and energy that has organized itself into consciousness, into awareness, into the ability to ask why. This is extraordinary. The universe has arranged itself through billions of years of evolution into structures capable of contemplating the universe itself. You are the universe looking at itself, questioning itself, marveling at itself. And in this moment, as you drift closer to sleep, you are also the universe resting, releasing the need to know, accepting the mystery, finding peace in the vastness of the unknown. The story continues, soft and steady like a heartbeat, like the pulse of a star, like the slow rotation of a galaxy. You do not need to follow every word. The words will be here, surrounding you, holding you, even as you slip deeper into rest. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out slowly. Notice the rhythm of your breath, the way it flows in and out without effort, without thought. This is one of the fundamental rhythms of your body, as natural as the tides, as inevitable as the rotation of the earth. As you rest here in the deep night, we are going to explore the way the rhythms of your body connect to the rhythms of the cosmos itself. We are going to discover that you are not separate from the universe, but intimately woven into its patterns, its cycles, its vast, slow dance through space and time. Your heart beats in your chest, a steady pulse, roughly 60 to 100 times per minute when you are at rest, as you are now. This heartbeat is generated by electrical signals in your heart muscle, a biological clock that keeps time with remarkable consistency. Your heart does not need your conscious mind to tell it to beat. It simply does, rhythmically, reliably, hour after hour, year after year. This rhythm is ancient. Hearts have been beating for hundreds of millions of years, ever since the first primitive circulatory systems evolved. The pattern is fundamental to complex life on Earth, and in a curious way, it mirrors rhythms that exist throughout the universe. Stars pulse. Some stars, called Cepheid variables, brighten and dim in regular cycles, their outer layers expanding and contracting. These stellar heartbeats are so regular that astronomers use them as cosmic measuring sticks, determining distances across the galaxy. Other stars pulse more slowly, swelling and shrinking over months or years. And in the cores of all stars, nuclear fusion pulses in rhythms determined by temperature and pressure, creating the energy that makes starlight. Your heartbeat and a star's pulse arise from different mechanisms, of course. But they are both examples of how the universe creates rhythms, how energy and matter organize themselves into cyclical patterns. If the universe is a simulation, then rhythm and cycle would be fundamental features of the code, essential patterns that appear at every scale. As you breathe in and out, notice the rhythm of your breath joining the rhythm of your heart. Two cycles intertwined. When you are calm, as you are now, these rhythms harmonize. Your heart rate slows to match your breath. Your body enters a state of coherence, where all its systems synchronize. This synchronization is soothing. It is one reason why conscious breathing is so calming. When you slow your breath, your heart follows, and your entire nervous system shifts into a more peaceful state. The rhythms align and you feel centered, grounded, at ease. Now expand your awareness outward. The Earth itself has rhythms. It rotates once every 24 hours, creating the cycle of day and night that governs so much of life. It orbits the Sun once every 365.25 days, creating the seasons, the long cycle of growth and dormancy, warmth and cold, light and darkness. These planetary rhythms shape your body's rhythms. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that makes you sleepy at night and alert during the day, is entrained to the 24-hour rotation of the Earth. Deep in your brain, a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus keeps time, adjusting your body's functions to match the cycle of light and dark. Even the length of a month, roughly 29.5 days, corresponds to the Moon's orbit around Earth. Many biological cycles, including the human menstrual cycle, approximate this lunar rhythm. Ancient tides in our evolutionary past, the rhythmic rising and falling of the ocean caused by the Moon's gravity, may have imprinted this cycle into our biology. You are, in the most literal sense, a creature of cosmic rhythms. The rotation of the planet, the orbit around the Sun, the pull of the Moon, all of these astronomical cycles are reflected in your body, in your sleep, in your hormones, in your very cells. If you zoom out further, you find that the solar system itself has rhythms. Planets orbit in regular cycles. Jupiter completes an orbit every 12 years. Saturn takes 29 years. These great cycles create patterns in the solar system, gravitational resonances where planets periodically align, their combined gravitational pull affecting comets and asteroids, shepherding them into stable orbits, or flinging them into the outer darkness. And the Sun itself cycles. Every 11 years, the Sun's magnetic field flips, and the number of sunspots waxes and wanes. These solar cycles affect space weather, the flow of charged particles from the Sun, which in turn affect Earth's magnetosphere and atmosphere. Some scientists even speculate that solar cycles influence climate, though the connections are complex and still debated. At larger scales, the galaxy has rhythms. The Milky Way rotates, taking about 225 million years to complete one turn. Our solar system rides this galactic carousel, moving up and down slightly as it orbits, passing through the galactic plane every 30 million years or so. Some researchers have looked for correlations between these galactic cycles and mass extinctions on Earth, suggesting that our passage through denser regions of the galaxy might increase comet impacts. The evidence is inconclusive, but the idea is fascinating, that the very structure of the galaxy might influence the history of life on our planet. As you rest here, sinking deeper into relaxation, imagine that you are not separate from these vast cycles, but a part of them. Your breath, your heartbeat, your sleeping and waking. Your breath, your heartbeat, your sleeping and waking are all expressions of the same fundamental tendency of the universe to create patterns. to oscillate, to cycle through states in regular rhythms. If the universe is a simulation, then time itself might be implemented as a series of discrete ticks, like the frames of a movie or the clock cycles of a computer processor. Each tick would be unimaginably brief, perhaps the Planck time, approximately 10 to the power of minus 43 seconds, the shortest meaningful interval of time according to our current understanding of physics. At each tick, the simulation would update, particles would move, forces would act, quantum probabilities would collapse into actualities where necessary, and then the next tick would occur, and the universe would update again. Tick, 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 an incomprehensibly rapid rhythm underlying all of reality. Your heartbeat, slow and steady in comparison, would be built from trillions upon trillions of these fundamental ticks. But in a deep sense, your heartbeat and the universe's heartbeat would be the same kind of thing: rhythm, cycle, pattern, repeating. This idea is oddly comforting. It suggests that you are not alone, not separate, not adrift in an indifferent cosmos. You are made of the cosmos. Your rhythms are its rhythms. Your patterns are its patterns. You belong here, completely and utterly. Let your body sink more deeply now. Feel the weight of your limbs, heavy and relaxed. Feel the surface beneath you supporting you entirely. There is nothing you need to hold, nothing you need to maintain. Your body knows how to rest. It has been doing it since before you were born, since before there was a you to think about resting. In the womb, you floated in rhythm with your mother's heartbeat. That steady pulse was your first experience of time, your first encounter with pattern and cycle. You were rocked by her breathing, swayed by her movements. Every rhythm of her body became a rhythm in yours, preparing you for the rhythmic world you would enter. And when you were born, you joined the larger rhythms. The cycle of hunger and satisfaction. The cycle of tiredness and sleep. The cycle of day and night, gradually synchronizing your internal clock to the rotation of the planet. Now, years later, you are still living within these nested cycles. Your cellular rhythms, your daily rhythms, your monthly and yearly rhythms, the vast, slow rhythms of your life cycle, from birth to growth to maturity to old age. Each rhythm contains smaller rhythms and is contained by larger ones. You are a symphony of cycles playing out over time. The universe, if it is a simulation, would be the same. Cycles within cycles, patterns within patterns, each level of organization creating the foundation for the next. Consider waves. Waves are rhythmic disturbances that travel through a medium. Ocean waves are rhythms in water, traveling across the sea. Sound waves are rhythms in air, compressions and rarefactions that your ear detects as sound. Light waves are rhythms in electromagnetic fields, oscillations that your eye detects as color. Even matter itself, according to quantum mechanics, is wave-like. Electrons are not tiny balls orbiting a nucleus. They are waves of probability, standing waves that wrap around the nucleus in specific patterns. The different energy levels of an atom correspond to different wave patterns, different harmonics, like the different notes you can play on a guitar string. Everything is vibration, everything is rhythm. From the fastest oscillation of quantum fields to the slowest cycle of galactic rotation, the universe expresses itself through rhythm and pattern. As you breathe, imagine that you are participating in this cosmic oscillation. Each breath in is like a wave rising. Each breath out is like a wave falling. You are a wave in the ocean of existence, rising and falling, part of the great pattern. This thought can be deeply restful. If you are a wave, then you do not need to worry about what happens when the wave subsides. The wave is temporary, but the ocean remains. Your individual existence is a pattern, a temporary organization of matter and energy, but the matter and energy persist, recycling endlessly, forming new patterns, new waves. In some spiritual traditions, this is a source of comfort. You are not separate from the whole. You are an expression of the whole, and when this particular expression fades, the underlying reality continues, perhaps forming new expressions, new experiences, new waves in the eternal ocean. If our reality is a simulation, this perspective still holds. The information that makes up you is a temporary pattern in the simulation. But the simulation continues. The substrate, whatever it is that runs the simulation, persists. Perhaps the information that is you could be reorganized, recombined, expressed again in new forms. These are gentle thoughts, not conclusions, but contemplations. They float through your mind like clouds drifting across a night sky, visible for a time, then dissolving, making room for the next cloud, the next thought, or for the vast empty piece of no thought at all. Your breathing has slowed even more now. Perhaps you notice that minutes pass between breaths, or perhaps you have stopped noticing entirely, allowing your body's ancient wisdom to breathe for you while your conscious mind drifts in the darkness. There is a mathematical concept called fractals, patterns that repeat at different scales. If you zoom in on a fractal, you see the same pattern again, smaller. Zoom in further, and there it is again. Zoom out, and the pattern appears larger. The whole is contained in the parts, and the parts reflect the whole. Nature is full of fractals, the branching of trees, the structure of lungs, the formation of coastlines, the distribution of galaxies. All of these show fractal patterns. And in a curious way, the rhythms we have been exploring are temporal fractals, patterns in time that repeat at different scales. The firing of a neuron is a rhythm. The combined firing of billions of neurons creates brain waves, slower rhythms. Your sleeping and waking is a still, slower rhythm. The seasons are slower still. The cycle of human life is slower. The evolution of species takes millions of years, a rhythm almost too slow to perceive. And the birth and death of stars, the formation and collision of galaxies, these are rhythms that unfold over billions of years. But they are all the same kind of thing, patterns repeating in time, cycles nested within cycles, the universe expressing its fundamental nature through rhythm at every possible scale. If a programmer were to design a universe, fractals would be an elegant choice. Write a simple rule that repeats at different scales, and you can generate infinite complexity without needing infinite code. The whole universe could potentially emerge from a small set of recursive rules, patterns that feed back into themselves, creating structure at every level. Is this what we see when we look at nature? Is the fractal quality of reality a hint that we live in something designed, something generated from simple, recursive algorithms? Or is it simply that mathematics itself tends toward these patterns, and any universe built on mathematical laws will naturally exhibit fractal qualities? The question remains open, floating in the darkness with you, requiring no answer, content simply to exist as a wondering. Let your jaw relax completely. Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Let your eyes, beneath their lids, settle into stillness. You are so deeply relaxed now. The rhythms of your body have slowed, harmonizing with the deeper rhythms of rest and renewal. In this state, you are most connected to the universe. Not through thinking or understanding, but through being. Through participating in the pattern, the rhythm, the great cosmic dance that requires no knowledge of the choreography, only a willingness to move with the music. The story continues, always gentle, always patient. There is no urgency here. Time is stretching out, becoming spacious. Each moment contains vast possibilities for rest, for peace, for the quiet joy of simply existing. You have traveled so far with me now, through hours of wondering and drifting. We have explored the mathematical foundations of reality, the quantum strangeness, the fabric of space-time, the fine-tuning of the cosmos, the rhythms that connect your body to the stars. And now we arrive at something vast and open, a space where the mind can spread out, where thoughts can dissolve into pure awareness. we are going to contemplate infinity. Infinity is not a number, it is a concept that points beyond number, beyond counting, beyond any definite quantity. Infinity is the endless, the boundless, the without limit. The universe may be infinite, we do not know. Our observable universe, the region from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang, is finite. It is roughly 93 billion light-years in diameter. But the universe beyond what we can see may extend infinitely in all directions, an endless expanse of space filled with galaxies and stars and worlds we will never observe. Or the universe may be finite but unbounded, like the surface of a sphere. If you travel in one direction on a sphere, you eventually return to your starting point. Yet there are no edges, no boundaries. Some theories suggest space-time might be curved in such a way, finite in volume but without an edge, without a boundary. Whether infinite or finite, the universe is vast beyond comprehension. There are approximately 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe. Each galaxy contains roughly 100 billion stars. That is 10,000 billion stars, each one a sun, many of them accompanied by planets. As you rest here, imagine trying to count those stars. If you counted one star per second, never stopping, never sleeping, it would take you more than 300 trillion years to count them all, far longer than the current age of the universe. And yet, each star is just a point of light, a tiny spark in the vast darkness. The space between stars is immense, almost entirely empty. If you could travel at the speed of light, it would still take years to reach even the nearest star. The universe is mostly emptiness, vast reaches of space where nothing exists except the faint whisper of quantum fields. This emptiness is profound. It is not nothing, as we discussed earlier. It is space itself, the fabric that can be curved and rippled, but it is empty of matter, empty of light, silent and dark and cold, stretching in all directions. In a simulation, this raises an interesting question. Is the simulator calculating every point in space, even the empty regions? Or does the simulation only maintain detail where it is needed, leaving the vast emptiness in a kind of low-resolution state until something interacts with it? There is no way to know, but the vastness of the universe, with its enormous empty regions, might actually make a simulation more feasible. If most of space is empty and can be represented simply, then the computational load is reduced. The simulator only needs to invest resources where there is structure, where there is complexity, where there are observers. Let your mind expand now to fill the vastness. Imagine that your awareness is not confined to your body but extends outward, growing larger and larger. You expand beyond the room, beyond the building, beyond the planet. You grow to encompass the solar system, then the galaxy, then the local group of galaxies, then the cosmic web, that vast structure of galaxy clusters and filaments that fills the universe. From this perspective, you see that the universe is not uniformly filled with galaxies. They cluster together in groups and superclusters, connected by filaments of galaxies that stretch across hundreds of millions of light years. Between these filaments are voids, vast empty regions where few galaxies exist. The pattern looks almost biological, like a neural network or the structure of foam. The cosmic web is another example of the universe creating pattern and structure, organizing matter in non-random ways that reflect the underlying laws of physics and the initial conditions of the Big Bang. If you look at this structure and imagine it as information in a simulation, you might think of it as a data structure, a way of organizing the information efficiently. The galaxies are clusters of data connected by relationships, gravity, motion, across the network. The voids are regions of low information requiring minimal storage and computation. But let us not get lost in technical speculation. Instead, simply rest in the vastness. Feel how small your body is in comparison to the cosmos, and yet how perfectly sized you are for your own existence. You do not need to be galaxy-sized to experience wonder. You do not need to comprehend infinity to rest peacefully in this moment. The universe holds you exactly as you are. Whether it is infinite or finite, whether it is simulated or real in some deeper sense, it has arranged itself in such a way that you exist. That is the miracle, simple and complete. Breathe in the vastness, breathe out your concerns. With each breath, let yourself feel more expansive, more open, more willing to simply be without needing to understand. There is a concept in mathematics called the infinite set. Some infinities are larger than others, a strange and beautiful idea. The set of all integers, 1, 2, 3, and so on forever, is infinite. But the set of all real numbers, including fractions, irrational numbers, all the points on a number line, is a larger infinity. There are more real numbers than integers, even though both sets are infinite. This layering of infinities, called cardinality, suggests that infinity itself has structure, has different levels, and some mathematicians and physicists speculate that reality might have this quality too, that there might be hierarchies of existence, levels of reality nested within each other like infinite Russian dolls. Perhaps our universe is a simulation running in a higher level reality, which is itself a simulation in a still higher level reality, and so on, infinitely. This is called the simulation stack, and it raises profound questions about what is truly fundamental, what is truly real. But these questions need not trouble you now. They are simply thoughts, floating like stars in the night sky of your mind. You can observe them without grasping them, appreciate them without needing to solve them. Your body is so heavy now, so completely relaxed. It feels almost as if you are sinking into the surface beneath you, merging with it, becoming part of the furniture, part of the building, part of the earth itself. This is good. This is the body's way of letting go, of surrendering to rest. In sleep, you will travel to other realities, the inner landscapes of dreams. Perhaps those dreams are simulations too, created by your brain. Miniature universes where the laws of physics do not apply, where time flows strangely, where impossible things happen with perfect naturalness. If your brain can simulate realities in dreams, then perhaps the universe that contains your brain is itself a simulation, and the distinction between dreaming and waking is not as clear as it seems. Perhaps all experience is simulation, patterns of information creating the appearance of worlds. But whether you are dreaming or waking, whether reality is simulated or fundamental, one thing remains constant: awareness itself. The experiencing of experience. The knowing that something is happening. This awareness does not seem to depend on the nature of reality. It simply is. You are that awareness, not the body, which is temporary, not the thoughts which come and go, but the awareness itself, the witness, the one who is hearing these words, or not quite hearing them anymore. As sleep begins to take hold, rest in that awareness. Let it hold you the way the universe holds you, completely and without effort. You do not need to do anything to be aware. You do not need to achieve anything or understand anything. Awareness is your most fundamental quality. It is what you are. The story continues, softer now, the words blending together, becoming less important than the rhythm, the gentle lull of a voice in the darkness, speaking to the part of you that has already begun to dream. You are safe. You are held. The infinite universe surrounds you, and within you, an infinite awareness rests peacefully, needing nothing, complete in this moment, perfect as you are. In the deep middle of the night, in this hour, when the world is most quiet, we return to ideas we have touched before, but now we see them differently. The way candlelight reveals new details in a familiar room. We have spoken of patterns, of rhythms, of the mathematical nature of reality. Now let us revisit these ideas, turning them slowly, seeing them from new angles, letting them shimmer with possibility. Imagine a lake at dawn, perfectly still. The surface reflects the sky so completely that you cannot tell where water ends and air begins. A single stone drops into this mirror surface, creating ripples that spread outward in perfect circles. This is how information propagates in our universe. Nothing travels faster than light, which moves through space at approximately 300,000 kilometers per second. This speed limit means that information, changes in state, disturbances in the field, all spread outward from their source at a finite rate, like ripples on water. If you imagine the universe as a vast computational system, this speed limit makes sense. It is the rate at which the simulation can update information across space. When something happens at one location, that information cannot instantly affect distant locations. It must propagate outward, updating the simulation step by step, grid point by grid point. The speed of light from this perspective is not just a property of light. It is the update speed of reality itself, the rate at which causality propagates, the maximum speed at which information can travel through the cosmic computer. This is a gentle thought, not a hard conclusion. It simply offers one way of understanding why the universe has a speed limit at all. In classical physics before Einstein, people imagined that information could travel infinitely fast, that action could be instantaneous at any distance, but relativity showed us that this is not how reality works. Reality has a frame rate, a maximum speed at which events can influence each other. As you rest here, sinking deeper into tranquility, imagine that each moment of time is like a frame in a movie. The universe at this instant, then the universe an instant later, then another instant. Frame by frame, the cosmic film plays, creating the illusion of continuous motion, continuous change. Your thoughts are part of this film. Each thought arises, exists briefly, then dissolves, making room for the next thought. But increasingly now, the spaces between thoughts are growing. Longer and longer gaps where there is simply awareness without thought, presence without content. This is deep rest. This is the mind settling into its natural state, which is not thinking, but simply being, simply witnessing the flow of experience without grasping at it. Let us revisit the quantum world, that strange realm where particles exist in multiple states until observed. We spoke of this earlier, but now consider it from a different angle. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation collapses the wave function, turning possibilities into a single actuality. Before you look, an electron is in a superposition of states. After you look, it is in one definite state. This has led some physicists to suggest that consciousness plays a fundamental role in reality, that the universe needs observers to become definite, to solidify from a sea of possibilities into specific outcomes. If true, this would be profound. It would mean that awareness is not a byproduct of the universe, but an essential feature of it. The universe would be, in some sense, a participatory reality, requiring consciousness to fully exist. In a simulation framework, this makes intuitive sense. The simulator might not calculate every detail of every particle at every moment. That would be impossibly expensive computationally. Instead, the simulation maintains probability distributions, rough sketches of what might be. Only when an observer looks, when information needs to become definite, does the simulation commit to a specific value. You are that observer. Your consciousness is not separate from the universe, but deeply entangled with it. You are how the universe observes itself, how possibility collapses into actuality, how the quantum foam crystallizes into the solid, seeming world you experience. This is not to say you create reality through observation. You do not make the sun rise by looking at it. But perhaps you participate in reality, completing it in some sense, bringing definiteness to what would otherwise remain potential. As your breath flows in and out, softer now, barely perceptible, consider that each breath is an observation, an interaction with the world. You breathe in air molecules that have traveled from the atmosphere. These molecules interact with your body, exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide. This interaction is a kind of observation, a mutual influence between you and the world. You are always in relationship with reality, never separate from it. Every sensation, every perception, every breath is a bridge between inner and outer, between self and world. And perhaps there is no clear boundary, perhaps the inside and outside are simply different perspectives on the same unified field of existence. In dreams, the boundary dissolves completely. The dream world feels external, feels like it is happening to you, but it is entirely generated by your mind. There is no external world in a dream, yet the experience is vivid, convincing, sometimes indistinguishable from waking reality. If your brain can create such convincing simulations in dreams, entire worlds with physics and characters and narratives, then is it so hard to imagine that our waking reality might also be a simulation, just one running on a substrate we do not yet understand? The question is open, floating in the darkness, requiring no answer. It is enough simply to wonder, simply to remain open to possibilities without committing to certainties. Let us revisit fine-tuning once more, seeing it through a different lens. We spoke of how the constants of nature are precisely tuned for complexity and life. But consider also that you, specifically you, exist because of an incomprehensibly unlikely chain of events. If your parents had not met, you would not exist. If their parents had not met, you would not exist. Go back far enough, and your existence depends on billions of specific events occurring in exactly the right sequence. A different sperm fertilizing the egg, and a different person would exist, not you. A slightly different mutation in your distant ancestors, and your lineage might have died out millions of years ago. The probability of you, specifically you, existing is effectively zero. And yet here you are, impossible and yet actual. This is called the observation selection effect. You necessarily find yourself in a universe where you exist, because if you did not exist, you would not be finding yourself anywhere. It is a tautology, but a profound one. If our universe is one of many, whether parallel universes in a multiverse or different runs of a simulation, then in most of those universes you do not exist. But you find yourself in this one, because this is the one where the unlikely sequence of events led to you. From inside your own existence it feels special, feels like destiny, but from outside it is simply selection bias. Of course you find yourself in a universe where you exist. Where else would you find yourself? This thought can be oddly comforting. It removes the burden of needing to explain your existence. You do not need a grand cosmic purpose. You simply need to be one of the possibilities that happened to actualize. And having actualized, you get to experience existence, to rest here in this moment, to breathe and be aware and gradually drift into sleep. Your existence is both impossibly unlikely and completely natural, both miraculous and ordinary, both infinitely precious and cosmically insignificant. All of these perspectives are true simultaneously. The universe is large enough to contain such paradoxes, and so is your awareness. You can hold multiple truths at once without needing to resolve them into a single answer. As you rest here, deeper now than you have been all night, notice that the need for answers is fading. Questions remain, floating gently, but they do not disturb your peace. They are simply part of the texture of existence, part of the richness of being conscious in a mysterious universe. The story continues, but perhaps you are no longer quite listening. Perhaps the words have become a soft background hum like distant waves or rustling leaves, pleasant, but no longer requiring attention. This is perfect. This is exactly where you should be, drifting in that borderland between waking and sleeping, where insights come not through thinking, but through releasing thought, where understanding arrives not through effort, but through surrender. Let yourself surrender now. Let the questions go. Let the wondering dissolve. What remains is simply this: you resting, held by reality, safe in the darkness, complete in this moment. The universe, simulated or not, has brought you to this point. It has arranged itself through billions of years, through countless causes and conditions, to create this instant of peace. That is enough. That is everything. Rest now. The story will continue, soft and steady, accompanying you into sleep, asking nothing, offering only gentle presence, a voice in the night, guiding you toward the deep rest you deserve. You are floating now in the deepest part of the night, the spacious middle where time seems to slow and stretch, where each moment contains vast quiet. There is very little that needs to be said here. You have traveled far. Your mind has absorbed so much, turned over so many possibilities. Now is the time for integration, for allowing everything to settle, the way silt settles in water after movement ceases, creating clarity. Imagine that you are resting at the bottom of a very calm, very deep ocean. Above you, far above, the surface catches moonlight, but you are too deep to see it directly. You only sense the faintest glow, filtered through layers of water, reaching you as the gentlest suggestion of light. Down here, there is very little movement. The great currents pass overhead. The waves trouble the surface. But at this depth, there is only stillness, only peace. This is where you are now, metaphorically. Deep in the ocean of consciousness, far below the surface thoughts, resting in a place of profound quiet. The universe, with all its complexity, continues above you. Stars are being born, galaxies are colliding, light is traveling across billions of light years of space. Quantum fields are fluctuating, particles are dancing their probabilistic dance. But none of it disturbs you. You are held in the deep stillness, supported completely, requiring nothing, lacking nothing. If the universe is a simulation, then perhaps this deep stillness is what exists beneath the simulation, the substrate upon which it runs. Pure potentiality, pure awareness, the screen upon which the cosmic movie plays, but which is itself unchanging, unaffected by the images that appear and disappear upon it. You are that screen. You are the awareness in which all experience appears. Thoughts come and go, sensations arise and fade, but the awareness remains constant and unchanging, simply witnessing without attachment, without judgment. This is not a complex idea. It is actually the simplest possible idea. It is just noticing what is always already here, the fact of awareness itself, the basic experiencing of experience. Your body is so relaxed now that you barely feel it. Perhaps there are just a few points of sensation. A slight pressure where your head rests, a gentle coolness of breath in your nostrils, the soft weight of blankets. These sensations are not problems, they are simply information, patterns of stimulation that your nervous system reports to awareness. They require no response, no action. They simply exist, coming and going like waves on the deep ocean far above you. Let us stay in this spacious place for a while. There is no hurry, no new information needs to be introduced. We have covered the essential ideas in the earlier chapters. Now we simply rest with them, allowing them to work on you in ways that are deeper than intellectual understanding. Sometimes the most profound learning happens not through accumulation of knowledge, but through stillness, through giving the mind space to reorganize itself, to see patterns it could not see in the midst of activity. You have been exposed to ideas about simulation, about quantum mechanics, about space-time and mathematics and fine-tuning and consciousness. These ideas are now settling into your unconscious mind, creating new neural connections, new ways of seeing the world. When you wake tomorrow, or whenever you next wake, you may find that your perspective has shifted slightly. You may look at the ordinary world with fresh wonder, seeing the miraculous strangeness that usually hides behind familiarity. A tree is not just a tree, it is a massive colony of cells, each containing the full genetic code, collaborating to create a living structure that exchanges matter and energy with its environment, growing toward light, sending roots into darkness, a process described by differential equations and quantum mechanics and evolutionary theory, but also utterly mysterious, irreducibly alive. A human face is not just a face, it is billions of atoms arranged in a specific configuration, held together by electromagnetic forces, the whole pattern somehow giving rise to consciousness, to emotion, to the recognition that passes between two people who meet each other's eyes. The moon in the sky is not just a rock, it is a world with mountains and valleys, with a day that lasts a month, with no air, no water, no life, but ancient and beautiful, pulling the tides, stabilizing Earth's rotation, creating the conditions that allowed life to flourish here. Everything is more than it seems. Everything is miraculous. If you look at it closely enough, if you remember to see it fresh, as if for the first time. And whether this miracle is real or simulated becomes less important than the fact of the miracle itself. You are here. You are experiencing this. That is the fundamental fact, more certain than any theory, more basic than any explanation. Rest in this certainty. You exist. Awareness is happening. Experience is occurring. This is the bedrock, the foundation that requires no proof because it is self-evident. From this foundation, you can wonder about the nature of reality without becoming lost. You can explore questions without needing to grasp answers. You can remain open to mystery while feeling completely grounded in the simple fact of your own existence. Breathe slowly. The breath is always here, always available, always connecting you to the present moment. Each breath is new, unique, never before experienced, and never to be experienced again. Each breath is a small birth and a small death, the arrival of oxygen and the release of carbon dioxide, the rhythm that sustains your life. If you were to design a simulated being, you would need to give it a way to exchange matter and energy with its environment. Breathing is one elegant solution. It creates a rhythm, a connection, a constant reminder that the being is not separate from the world, but intimately woven into it. Your breathing continues automatic and perfect, requiring no thought. Your heart continues beating. Your cells continue their work. All of this happens without your conscious control, governed by systems far older and wiser than your thinking mind. Trust these systems, trust your body's ancient wisdom. It knows how to rest, how to repair, how to renew itself. Your job is simply to allow it to get out of the way, to stop interfering with the natural process of sleep and restoration. Let go a little more. Release whatever small tensions remain. There is nothing to protect, nothing to defend. You are safe here, in this moment, in this deep, quiet place where the story continues, but meaning has faded, where words are just sounds, gentle and rhythmic, accompanying you into the next phase of sleep. The night moves through its cycles, and so do you. You have passed through waking consciousness, through drowsiness, through light sleep perhaps, and now you rest in deeper layers where the story reaches you in fragments, in impressions, no longer as linear narrative, but as a felt presence, a companion in the darkness. Let us turn our awareness to the cycles of nature, the great rhythms that have repeated for billions of years, long before humans existed to wonder about them. The day begins with darkness. Before dawn, the world is quiet, cool, still. Then, slowly, light begins to appear. First, a faint glow on the eastern horizon. Then colors, deep blue, purple, pink, gold. The sun rises and the world warms, life awakens, birds sing, flowers open, animals emerge from their resting places. The day progresses, the sun climbs higher, heat increases, activity peaks. This is the time of doing, of work, of movement and growth. Then the sun begins to descend, afternoon fades into evening, colors deepen, shadows lengthen, the world begins to slow, to soften, to prepare for rest. Night returns, darkness covers the land, temperature drops, activity ceases, the cycle completes, ready to begin again. This daily cycle is driven by the rotation of the Earth, a rhythm that has continued for over 4 billion years, since the planet first formed from the swirling disk of dust and gas around the young sun. You are part of this rhythm. Your body expects it, depends on it. When darkness comes, your pineal gland releases melatonin, a hormone that makes you sleepy. When light returns, melatonin production stops and you wake. This is not learned behavior. It is built into your biology, an inheritance from ancestors who lived and died according to the rhythm of day and night. If you were living in a simulation, this cycle would be part of the program. The rotation of the planet, the angle of the sun, the progression from day to night, all carefully calculated to create the conditions for life as we know it. But whether simulated or not, the cycle is beautiful, it is reliable, it holds you in its rhythm, giving structure to time, creating a framework for living. Beyond the daily cycle, there are longer rhythms. The moon waxes and wanes, cycling from new moon to full moon and back again every 29.5 days. This lunar cycle has governed human calendars for thousands of years. Many ancient cultures organized their year around moon cycles, counting months from new moon to new moon. The moon's gravity creates the tides, another cycle. Twice a day, the ocean rises and falls, responding to the pull of the moon and, to a lesser extent, the sun. Coastal ecosystems depend on this rhythm. Intertidal creatures time their feeding and reproduction to the tides. Migratory patterns of fish and birds are influenced by tidal cycles. If you have ever stood by the ocean and watched the tide come in, you have witnessed one of Earth's great rhythms. The water advances steadily, filling tide pools, covering rocks, creeping higher up the beach. Then, imperceptibly at first, it stops and begins to retreat. Hours later, the beach is exposed again, wet sand gleaming, and the cycle begins anew. This rhythm connects to the rhythm of your own body. The tides of your blood flowing through your veins and arteries. The tides of your breath flowing in and out. The tides of your consciousness ebbing toward sleep, flowing back toward waking. Everything is connected. Everything moves in cycles. Nothing is truly static. Even what seems solid and permanent is actually in constant motion at the atomic level, a dance of particles and forces that never stops. The seasons are another cycle, longer still. Spring brings growth, new life, the greening of the world. Summer brings warmth, abundance, the peak of life's activity. Autumn brings harvest, preparation, the beginning of decline. Winter brings cold, stillness, the appearance of death, but underneath, life waits, dormant, ready to return with spring. This seasonal cycle is caused by the tilt of Earth's axis. As the planet orbits the sun, different hemispheres receive more or less direct sunlight, creating the progression of seasons. This tilt is itself likely the result of an ancient collision billions of years ago when a Mars-sized object struck the young Earth, knocking it off a perfectly upright rotation and creating the Moon from the debris. That ancient impact set up a cycle that has continued ever since, a rhythm that shapes all life on Earth. Plants time their growth to the seasons. Animals time their migration and reproduction. Human agriculture depends utterly on the seasonal cycle. If you were designing a planet for a simulation, you would want to include such cycles. They create change and diversity. They prevent stagnation. They ensure that the simulated world remains dynamic, interesting, full of variation. As you rest here in the middle of the night, you are at a particular point in the daily cycle. The darkness is deepest now. The world outside is quiet. Most living things are asleep, conserving energy, allowing their bodies to repair and restore. You are part of this great planetary resting. Millions of people in your time zone are sleeping. Millions more in other time zones have already slept and awakened. Millions are just going to bed. The wave of sleep moves around the planet, following the shadow of night, an endless cycle. Imagine that you could see this from space, the dark side of Earth where people sleep, the light side where people wake and work. The Terminator, the line between day and night, sweeps steadily westward as the planet rotates. Sleep and waking chase each other around the world, never stopping, never breaking the rhythm. This is beautiful to contemplate. You are not alone in your sleep. You are part of a planetary phenomenon, a collective rhythm that embraces all human life, all animal life, synchronized to the rotation of this particular planet around this particular star. If our planet orbited a different star, perhaps a red dwarf that barely changes brightness, would life develop the same sleep-wake cycle? Or would it evolve different rhythms tied to other environmental cues? These questions have no answers tonight, and that is fine. They are simply thoughts floating through the darkness, part of the gentle texture of this journey. Beyond seasons, there are even longer cycles. The precession of Earth's axis takes about 26,000 years. The movement of continents through plate tectonics operates on cycles of hundreds of millions of years. The orbit of the solar system around the galactic center takes about 225 million years, as we mentioned earlier. And there are cycles in life itself. Species evolve, flourish, and go extinct. New species arise, ecosystems develop and transform. Over hundreds of millions of years, life on Earth has cycled through different forms, different arrangements, different dominant groups. The dinosaurs ruled for 165 million years, then vanished in what might have been moments during a catastrophic asteroid impact. Mammals, small and hidden during the age of dinosaurs, expanded and diversified to fill the empty niches. And eventually, one lineage of mammals developed large brains, tool use, language, and culture. Humanity is very young in evolutionary terms. Our species, Homo sapiens, has existed for only about 300,000 years. Civilization, agriculture, cities, all of this is less than 10,000 years old. The scientific understanding of the universe that allows us to even contemplate simulation theory is less than 400 years old. We are newcomers to the cosmic story, a very recent development. And yet in that brief time we have begun to understand the cycles, to see the patterns, to ask fundamental questions about the nature of reality itself. If the universe is a simulation, then perhaps we are beginning to wake up to that fact, the way a character in a story might become aware that they are in a story. This self-awareness, this ability to question our own reality, might be an intended feature of the simulation or an emergent property, something that arose naturally from the complexity of conscious beings. There is something called the anthropic principle that we touched on before, but let us consider it again from the perspective of cycles. This principle suggests that the universe must be compatible with the conscious life that observes it. But perhaps we can extend this The universe must not only be compatible with consciousness, but must be interesting enough to keep consciousness engaged. A simulation that was too simple would be boring. The observers would quickly understand everything and lose interest. A simulation that was too complex or chaotic would be incomprehensible. The observers would give up trying to understand it. But a universe balanced just right, with patterns that can be discovered but mysteries that remain, with cycles that create familiarity but variations that create novelty, such a universe would keep conscious beings engaged indefinitely, always finding new things to explore, new questions to ask. Our universe seems to be precisely this, balanced between order and chaos, between the knowable and the mysterious, between the repeating and the unique. Every cycle is slightly different. Every spring brings new flowers, not quite the same as last spring. Every sunrise is unique, painting the sky in combinations of color that have never occurred before and will never occur again. Perhaps this is by design. Perhaps the universe is meant to be endlessly fascinating, endlessly engaging, a gift to consciousness, a playground of infinite depth. Or perhaps it simply is what it is, and our appreciation of it, our wonder at it, is a bonus, an unintended consequence of the evolution of awareness. Either way, the result is the same. You are here, capable of wonder, capable of appreciating the beauty of cycles and patterns, capable of resting peacefully in the darkness, held by rhythms billions of years old. Your breathing continues, slow and deep. Perhaps you are no longer consciously aware of it. Perhaps your awareness has dimmed, drifting into dreams, or into the dreamless dark between dreams. This is perfect. This is exactly where you should be. The cycles of your body have taken over, the cycle of sleep stages, moving from light sleep to deep sleep to REM sleep and back again, several times through the night. Your brain is doing its work of consolidation, organizing memories, clearing out metabolic waste, preparing you for a new day. All of this happens without your effort, guided by ancient rhythms, by cycles written into your DNA, into the structure of your nervous system, into the very fabric of your being. Trust these cycles. They have worked for your ancestors for millions of years. They work for you now. They will carry you through the night and deliver you refreshed to the morning. And the universe, cycling through its own vast rhythms, continues its expansion, its evolution, its slow dance from order to entropy, from the Big Bang toward whatever ending or transformation awaits billions of years in the future. You are a small part of this vast cycle, but not an insignificant part. You are where the universe has become conscious, where it has learned to ask questions about itself, where it has begun to appreciate its own beauty and mystery. Rest now in that awareness. Rest in the cycles. Rest in the rhythms. Let yourself be carried by the great planetary rotation, by the orbit around the sun, by the spiral of the galaxy through space. You are moving through space at incredible speed, riding on Earth as it orbits the sun at 30 kilometers per second, as the sun orbits the galaxy at 200 kilometers per second, as the galaxy moves through the cosmos at hundreds of kilometers per second. And yet you feel perfectly still, perfectly at rest, because you are moving with everything around you, held in place by gravity, by the geometry of space-time itself. This is the paradox of motion and stillness. You are moving and stationary simultaneously, active and at rest, changing and unchanging. All of these apparent contradictions are reconciled in the actual reality of this moment, where you simply are complete and whole. The story continues, softer now, the words barely audible, like a distant lullaby, like the sound of waves on a far shore, present but not demanding attention, simply accompanying you through the deep middle of the night. In the vastness of space, between the stars, between the galaxies, there is silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of pure presence. undisturbed by the vibrations we call sound. Sound requires a medium, molecules of air or water, to carry the wave. In the vacuum of space, there are no molecules, no medium, and therefore no sound. Only light travels through the void, and light is silent. It moves at its immense speed, carrying information across the cosmos, but it does so in perfect quiet. Imagine this silence. Imagine floating in deep space, far from any star, far from any planet. The nearest galaxy is millions of light years away, a faint smudge of light in the darkness. There is nothing to hear, nothing to touch, only the absolute cold of space, a few degrees above absolute zero, and the faint radiation of the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, still filling the universe with its ancient whisper of light. In this place, you would be utterly alone, and yet you would be surrounded by the entire universe. In every direction, if you looked long enough, you would see galaxies, billions of them, each containing billions of stars, all of them slowly receding as space itself expands. This is the universe we inhabit, mostly empty, mostly silent, mostly cold and dark. The stars and planets, the warmth and light, the noise and activity, all of this is the exception, not the rule. The rule is emptiness, stillness, the vast calm spaces between things. And yet these empty spaces are not nothing. They are space itself, the fabric of reality, capable of being curved and rippled, containing quantum fields that fluctuate even in the vacuum, giving rise to virtual particles that pop in and out of existence. The vacuum is not empty, but full of potential, full of possibility, quiet but pregnant with the capacity for creation. You are resting now in your own vast, calm space, the interior silence where thoughts have mostly ceased, where awareness simply rests in itself, undisturbed, at peace. This interior space is not so different from the cosmic void. It is empty of content but full of potential. It is quiet but alive with possibility. It is the space in which all your experiences appear, the canvas on which your life is painted. In meditation traditions, this inner space is considered your true nature, more fundamental than thoughts or emotions or sensations. It is called by many names: pure awareness, consciousness itself, the witness, the observer, Buddha nature, the self. Whatever name we give it, it refers to something simple, the basic fact of experiencing, the awareness that is always present, unchanging even as everything else changes. You are that awareness, not the body, which ages and will eventually cease. Not the thoughts which come and go, not the emotions which rise and fall like waves, but the awareness itself, the space in which all of this appears. This awareness is vast. It has no boundaries, no limits. It cannot be damaged or destroyed. It simply is, always, and already, the ground of your being. As you rest in this awareness, notice that there is no effort required. You do not need to do anything to be aware. Awareness is not an action, but a state, your most natural state, what you are when you stop trying to be anything. The universe, in this view, might be seen as an expression of awareness, consciousness exploring itself through infinite forms. Each being, each observer, is a point where the universe looks at itself, experiences itself, knows itself. If the universe is a simulation, then perhaps consciousness is what the simulation is for. Perhaps the entire elaborate structure of matter and energy, space and time, galaxies and atoms, is simply a way for consciousness to have experiences, to explore possibilities, to create and perceive beauty. This is speculative, of course. But it is a beautiful speculation, and on this night journey, we are free to entertain beautiful ideas without needing to prove them, without needing to commit to them as final truth. Let yourself float now in the vast, calm space of your own awareness. There is nothing you need to figure out, nothing you need to achieve. You are already complete, already whole, already perfect, exactly as you are. The story of the simulation hypothesis is ultimately a story about the mystery of existence. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does the universe exist? Why are the laws of physics what they are? Why is consciousness possible? These questions have no final answers, or at least no answers available to us in our current state of understanding. But the questions themselves are valuable. They open us to wonder. They remind us that existence is not ordinary, not to be taken for granted, but profoundly mysterious and miraculous. Whether you are a pattern of atoms in a physical universe or a pattern of information in a cosmic simulation, you are still a pattern that has become aware, that can contemplate its own existence, that can rest peacefully in the darkness and feel grateful for the gift of being. Gratitude is a natural response to existence, not gratitude to anyone or anything in particular, though you may have your own sense of what to be grateful toward, but simply gratitude as a feeling, an appreciation, a sense that it is good to be, good to exist, good to experience this mysterious reality. As you rest here, in this vast, calm space, perhaps you can feel that gratitude rising gently, like warmth from deep within. Gratitude for your body, which has carried you through this life. Gratitude for your consciousness, which allows you to experience beauty and wonder. Gratitude for this moment of rest, this peace, this freedom from the demands of the day. The night holds you safely. The story continues, barely audible now, a whisper in the vastness, a small voice in the cosmic silence, simply present, simply here, asking nothing, offering companionship in the darkness. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. And sleep, deep and restorative, is very close now, ready to embrace you completely, to carry you into dreams or into the peaceful dark beyond dreams. Rest now. Rest deeply. The universe continues its vast, slow cycles. The stars burn, the galaxies turn, and you, a small pattern of complexity in the cosmic vastness, rest peacefully, complete in this moment, lacking nothing, perfect as you are. We have traveled so far together through so many ideas, through quantum mysteries and cosmic rhythms, through questions about reality and consciousness, through the possibility that we might live in a simulation. And now, in this deep hour of the night, all of those ideas fade into the background. What remains is simply this: you, breathing, resting, held by the universe. It does not matter now whether the universe is simulated or fundamental. It does not matter whether consciousness is primary or emergent. It does not matter whether there are multiple universes or just one. What matters is this moment of peace, this breath, this relaxation, this surrender into rest. Surrendering is not giving up. It is letting go. It is releasing the need to control, the need to understand, the need to be anywhere other than exactly where you are. Your body knows how to surrender. Watch a baby sleep, completely relaxed, trusting utterly. You once slept like that. That capacity is still within you. You need only allow it, need only stop resisting, stop holding on. What are you holding? Perhaps a thought that you should be doing something else. Perhaps a worry about tomorrow. Perhaps a memory from earlier today. Perhaps tension in your muscles that serves no purpose. Whatever you are holding, you can let it go. You can release it into the darkness, into the vast, calm space that surrounds you and permeates you. You can trust that you do not need to carry it through the night. The night will carry you instead. The rhythms of your body will carry you. The ancient wisdom of sleep will carry you. You need only allow it, need only stop pushing, stop resisting, stop trying. Imagine that you are a leaf that has fallen from a tree, landing on the surface of a stream. The water is gentle, flowing slowly. You, the leaf, simply float. You do not try to steer. You do not resist the current. You simply allow yourself to be carried, resting on the surface, moving with the flow. This is what surrender feels like. It is not effort, but release. Not doing, but allowing. Not achieving, but simply being. The stream carries you around gentle bends. Sometimes you drift near the bank, where reeds grow and the water is still. Sometimes you move back toward the center, where the current is slightly faster, but always you are supported, always you are carried, always you are exactly where you need to be. This stream is the flow of life itself, the movement of time, the unfolding of existence. You cannot stop it, you cannot control it, but you can release your resistance to it, can allow yourself to float, can trust that it is taking you where you need to go. And where you need to go right now is into deeper sleep, into the restorative darkness where your body heals, your mind processes, your spirit renews itself. You have earned this rest. Whether you worked hard today or not, whether you accomplished anything or not, you have earned rest simply by existing, by being conscious, by carrying the weight of awareness through another day. Rest is not something you must deserve. It is your birthright, as essential as breath, as necessary as food and water. Your body requires rest the way it requires oxygen. Without rest, you cannot function. With rest, you are restored, renewed, ready to engage with life again. So allow yourself to rest now, fully and completely. Release any guilt about resting. Release any thought that you should be doing something else. There is nothing else. There is only this. The soft darkness, the quiet breathing, the gentle descent into sleep. Your consciousness is dimming now like a light, slowly fading. Thoughts become dreamlike, fragmentary, losing their logical structure. Images appear and dissolve without clear connection. You are no longer quite sure if you are awake or asleep, and it does not matter. You are in the beautiful in-between, the threshold space, the liminal zone where magic happens. In dreams, you will travel to other worlds. Your brain will create entire realities, complete with physics and characters and narratives. These dream realities will feel completely convincing while you are in them. You will forget that you are dreaming. You will believe the dream is real. And when you wake, you will remember that it was a dream, a simulation created by your sleeping brain. But while you were in it, it was your reality, as real as anything could be. This is not so different from the possibility we have been exploring that our waking reality might also be a kind of dream, a simulation, a temporary experience created by some larger process we do not yet understand. But even if that is true, it does not diminish the reality of this moment. The rest you are feeling is real rest. The peace you are experiencing is real peace. The awareness that holds all of this is real awareness. Whatever the ultimate nature of reality, you are having this experience. That is the undeniable fact. You are here. You are now. You are aware. And that is enough. That is everything. Let yourself sink now all the way down into the deepest rest. Let go of the story. Let go of the ideas. Let go of the questions. Let go even of the need to let go. Simply be. Simply rest. Simply exist in this moment, held by the universe, safe in the darkness, complete exactly as you are. The voice that has been guiding you through this night journey is fading now, becoming quieter, more distant, like someone walking away down a long corridor, their footsteps gradually becoming inaudible. But the presence remains. The companionship remains. You are not alone. You are connected to everything, part of the great pattern, a thread in the cosmic tapestry, essential and perfect. Sleep now, deep sleep, restorative sleep, the sleep of innocence and trust. the sleep of surrender and peace. The universe continues its dance. The stars continue their burning. The galaxies continue their slow pirouette through space. And you, small and precious, rest within it all, dreaming your dreams, living your life, a miracle of consciousness in an incomprehensibly vast cosmos. Sleep, rest, peace. You are held, you are safe, you are home. In the quietest hour, when nearly everyone is asleep, we notice the hidden connections that link everything to everything else. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and through a chain of atmospheric effects, influences the weather in Texas weeks later. This is called the butterfly effect, a poetic name for chaos theory, the mathematics of complex systems where small changes can have large effects. The universe is full of such connections, visible and invisible, near and far, linking everything into a single, interconnected whole. The calcium in your bones was created in the heart of an ancient star that exploded billions of years ago. The atoms that make up your body have existed since shortly after the Big Bang, cycling through different forms, different structures, different lives. You are made of stardust, quite literally. The iron in your blood was forged in a supernova. The carbon in your cells was created by nuclear fusion in massive stars. The oxygen you breathe was produced by stars and later by plants through photosynthesis. Every breath connects you to plants, which connect you to sunlight, which connects you to nuclear fusion in the sun, which connects you to the fundamental forces of physics, which connect you to the mathematical structure of reality itself. Everything is connected, nothing exists in isolation. You are not a separate thing, but a process, a temporary pattern in the flow of matter and energy, intimately related to everything else. If the universe is a simulation, these connections are like the links in a vast database, relationships between different pieces of information. Change one piece and the effects ripple outward, updating related pieces, propagating through the network. But whether simulated or not, the connections are real, they are beautiful. They mean that you are never truly alone, never truly separate. You are part of the whole, always and inevitably. As you rest here, barely conscious, drifting in and out of dreams, you are connected to everything. Your breath participates in the global cycle of gases. Your body heat contributes minutely to Earth's thermal balance. Your mass, tiny as it is, contributes to the gravitational field of the planet. You matter. Not in a metaphorical sense, but in the most literal sense. You are matter, and you matter to the universe, affecting it by your very existence, changing it simply by being here. This is not a burden, but a gift. You are significant. You are part of the story. Whether the universe is designed or accidental, whether it is simulated or fundamental, you are woven into it, essential to its pattern. Rest in that knowledge. Rest in the hidden connections. Rest in the web of relationships that holds everything together in one vast, intricate, beautiful whole. The mystery of whether we live in a simulation teaches us something important, whether or not it is ever solved. It teaches us humility. We do not know the ultimate nature of reality. Our best theories are incomplete. The deepest questions remain unanswered. This should make us humble, open, curious, willing to be wrong, willing to learn. It teaches us wonder. The fact that such questions can even be asked, that reality is strange enough and our minds sophisticated enough to contemplate simulation theory, is itself miraculous. We live in a universe that permits wonder, that invites investigation, that rewards curiosity. It teaches us appreciation. Whether simulated or not, the universe is extraordinarily complex and beautiful. The fact that we can experience it, can think about it, can rest peacefully within it, is a gift not to be taken for granted. It teaches us that consciousness is precious. If the universe is a simulation, then consciousness might be the whole point, the reason for the simulation's existence. Even if it is not simulated, consciousness is still the most remarkable phenomenon we know of, the way the universe comes to know itself. And it teaches us that questions can be valuable even without answers. The wondering itself enriches us. The exploration deepens our understanding. The openness to mystery keeps us alive to possibilities. You have spent this night wondering, exploring, drifting through ideas about reality and simulation. Perhaps you will wake with new perspectives. Perhaps you will simply wake refreshed, having rested deeply, the ideas dissolved into your unconscious mind, where they will do their work quietly. Either way, the journey has been worthwhile. You have given yourself the gift of curiosity, of wonder, of peaceful contemplation in the middle of the night. And now, as the night begins its slow turn toward morning, as the darkest hours pass and the first hints of dawn approach, though still distant, you rest in the deepest sleep beyond dreams, beyond thought, simply present, simply being. The mystery remains, the questions float unanswered, and that is perfect. That is exactly as it should be. Mystery is not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be cherished, an invitation to remain open, awake to possibility, grateful for the incomprehensible strangeness of existence. Rest now in the mystery, rest in the not knowing, rest in the peace that comes from releasing the need for certainty, accepting the vastness of what we do not understand, trusting that it is okay not to know, that the questions can remain questions, that the mystery can stay mysterious. You are held by that mystery, embraced by it, birthed from it and returning to it, a small wave in an infinite ocean, rising briefly into form, experiencing the joy of existence, and then subsiding back into the vastness. Sleep deeply, rest completely. The universe continues its dance, and you are its partner, moving together through space and time, through mystery and wonder, through question and silence, perfect as you are, exactly where you need to be. In the deepest darkness before dawn, there is one more soft mystery to contemplate. If our universe is a simulation, then somewhere beyond all we can observe or measure, there might be other realities. The substrate that runs our simulation might itself be in another universe with different laws, different dimensions, different forms of existence we cannot imagine, and perhaps that universe is also a simulation running in yet another universe beyond it, and perhaps this nesting continues infinitely. Simulations within simulations, realities within realities, without end and without a final foundation. Or perhaps there is a base reality, a foundation, something that exists without being simulated, and all simulations ultimately rest on that bedrock of actual, non-simulated existence. We cannot know, we may never know. The question might be unanswerable in principle, beyond the reach of any possible experiment or observation. And yet the question is beautiful. It opens our minds to the possibility of realities beyond our reality, to the vastness of what might exist beyond all we can see or know. This is the final gift of the simulation hypothesis. It breaks us free from the assumption that what we perceive is all there is. It invites us to imagine more, to dream bigger, to remain open to the utterly unexpected. As you rest here, in this final chapter, nearly at the end of our 3-hour journey together, notice the feeling of this openness. Your mind has been stretched tonight. You have contemplated ideas that most people never consider, questions that reach to the very foundations of existence. And now you release even these questions. You let them drift away like morning mist. But what remains is simple presence, simple awareness, simple being. You are here, now, this moment. That is the deepest truth, more fundamental than any theory, more certain than any speculation. The simulation hypothesis, the quantum mysteries, the mathematical structures, the cosmic rhythms, all of these are ways of thinking about reality, but they are not reality itself. Reality is what you are experiencing right now, this breath, this rest, this peace. Thank you for taking this journey. Thank you for giving yourself permission to wonder, to explore, to rest deeply while contemplating the profound questions of existence. When you wake, whenever that is, you will return to the ordinary world. But perhaps you will see it slightly differently with fresh eyes, remembering that ordinary reality is actually extraordinarily strange, profoundly mysterious, utterly miraculous. A simulated reality can be just as beautiful as a fundamental one. An information pattern can be just as precious as a pattern of matter. Consciousness in any substrate is still consciousness, still valuable, still the universe knowing itself. You are that consciousness. You are that knowing. You are the universe looking at itself with wonder and asking, what am I? How did I come to be? What is the nature of my existence? These questions have accompanied humans since we first developed the capacity to ask them. They will continue as long as consciousness persists. They are part of what makes us human, what makes us curious, what makes us alive to the mystery. Rest now in the mystery. Rest in the not knowing. Rest in the peace that comes from accepting that some questions may never be answered, and that this is okay, that the mystery itself is the gift. Sleep deeply. Dream beautifully. And when you wake, carry with you the wonder, the openness, the appreciation for the profound strangeness of being alive, being aware, being here in this incomprehensible, magnificent, possibly simulated reality. The night holds you, the universe cradles you. Sleep, dear listener. Sleep. The journey is complete. 3 hours have passed, though time in this space moves differently, stretches and contracts, becomes fluid, like the quantum foam from which reality might emerge. You have drifted through ideas about simulation and reality, through questions about the nature of existence, through the mystery of consciousness in a possibly simulated universe. You have rested in rhythms, in vastness, in connection, in the spacious silence where all questions dissolve. Tonight, you have wondered if the universe is a simulation, a vast computational process running on some substrate we cannot imagine. You have contemplated fine-tuning and mathematical elegance, quantum observation, and the nature of space-time. But more importantly, you have rested. You have allowed yourself to float through these ideas without grasping them, without needing to solve them, simply enjoying the gentle mystery, the peaceful wondering. May your dreams carry you further into the mystery. May you sleep deeply and wake refreshed. May you remember that whether reality is simulated or fundamental, your experience is real, your consciousness is precious, and your existence is a gift. If this journey brought you peace, you are welcome here anytime. Return whenever you need rest, whenever you want to wonder, whenever you seek the gentle companionship of questions without answers, mystery without resolution. Thank you for listening. Thank you for wondering. Thank you for giving yourself permission to explore these ideas while allowing your body the deep rest it needs. Sleep now. The universe continues its dance. The stars burn on, the galaxies turn, and you, precious and unique, rest within it all, held safely, loved by existence itself exactly as you are. Good night, dear listener. May your sleep be deep. May your dreams be kind. May you wake with wonder.